Entering the atmosphere in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello there, folks, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Omega Metroid podcast. My name is Doominal Crossing, and I am once again joined by no one. I'm all by myself again today. Unfortunately, Dak got a little bit busy, so he did have to back out. But I'm still holding down the fort. For the YouTube viewers out there, as you've probably noticed by now, I do not have my camera turned on. And the reason is, much like last week, I'm recording fairly late at night again. But unlike last night, I am not doing a closing shift tomorrow. I am doing an opening shift. And a video podcast is frankly going to take a lot more time to edit than an audio only. So that's what you're getting tonight. It's going to be an audio only foray. So exercise your eardrums and enjoy your stay tonight. And the reason why I'm recording so late at night is because, frankly, I've been extremely busy today. Today was the day where I turned in my keys to the old house. It is official. I am never stepping inside my old house again. I was doing a lot of last minute cleanup and getting the place all ready to go before they do the final inspection. And so, that's pretty much been most of my day, and just finished my laundry, and now that the dryer has finally stopped, I finally have a suitable recording environment where I can speak to y'all. So that's just kind of the reason why we're doing audio only today. Now, before we get into today's main topic, I also wanted to talk to you all. Most of you probably won't care about this, but it's something that I've been having a lot of fun with, and I have to say, I promise you, this is not a sponsored segment for the life of me. But when it comes to my audio, previously I utilized a program from SteelSeries called Sonar, and basically what this is a digital audio router that allows you to route various different programs to these digital custom outputs on your computer. And it's especially convenient for stuff like streaming, for example, where normally if you want to record your computer audio, everything is on your computer audio track, your music, your gameplay, anything that's playing in that background. If you want to adjust the parameters and the volume, or if you wanted to add a plugin to give it an effect, it would affect that entire channel. But by creating these digital audio outputs, it allows you to route specific programs to those outputs, and then you can manage the volumes and the plugins individually to do a lot of cool stuff. And it's really, really nice for streaming in particular. But I definitely had some issues with it. It wasn't perfect. For one, it also comes with a lot of bloatware that, frankly, I never cared about. Like, there's a bunch of other like programs bundled in with them, and you can't pick and choose which ones you want. You have to get the entire suite if you're getting Sonar. And on top of that, it didn't allow you to do custom VST plugins, which not too bad. On the streaming side, because you can already do that through OBS, for example. But if you want your voice pre-treated through Discord, for example, in a live sense where you're not pre-recording something, well, you're kind of SOL there. The Wavelink application that I just switched to by Elgato allows you to do that. So you might notice my voice sounding a little bit different than it usually does. So one thing I should actually mention about the Sonar is that you still can pre-treat your voice. It does have some onboard components, for example, but it doesn't allow you to use VST or VST3 plugins or AAX plugins, for examples. And those are basically third-party plugins that, a lot of engineers use on various digital audio workstations, or DAWs for short. And Elgato, the Wavelink, it allows you to use those same plugins with those same presets as well if you have those, and you can import those onto your microphone, or frankly any application you want. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm using my plugins that I typically use when I'm doing a pre-recorded video, but I'm not adding this in post-process. This is all happening in real time right now. So I'm still experimenting with it, still playing around with it, but I'm having a lot of fun. And lastly on that front, one of the cool things that allows you to do that you cannot do on the SteelSeries Sonar application is you can route outputs to an input as well. And so that allows you to do a bunch of cool things, for example, such as this. Now, what you just heard right there, again, that is not something that I added in post. That is my computer audio playing through my input, my microphone input in real time without having to do a bunch of honky workaround and putting my output as in. No, it's just automatically happening right as the get-go. That's a custom input that I made that combines my microphone along with a bunch of my music players, some of my media video players as well, combined into its own specialized input with the plugins only affecting my microphone still. So the plugins aren't affecting any of the music you heard. That's just all, that's all untreated music you heard there. My voice is the only thing being treated by the plugins there. And it's really, really cool for myself, and definitely something I'll probably be utilizing on some future Omega Metroid projects. Probably not something that's super relevant here to the podcast, but yeah, just something that I wanted to share with y'all because I've been having a lot of fun with it. But anyways, all that out of the way, let's get on to today's main topic. So, we are redefinitively ranking every single power suit in the Metroid series. And the reason I say redefinitively ranking is because this is actually one of the earliest Omega Metroid episodes that we did. I believe, and I could be wrong, but if I remember correctly, I want to say it was episode 19 where we initially ranked the power suits. And by we, I should say Andy and Dak, because this was before I joined the podcast. I was still in the comments section back in the day. So this is actually kind of an original take you're going to be hearing, because no one has heard my power suit rankings yet. And so, yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Plus, since that episode, we've had Metroid Dread come out. We've had Metroid Prime 4 come out. So we definitely have some new suits added to the repertoire that, we need to add to this ranking here. So, yeah, this is... so what I have here, I have a tier list pulled up. And I'll link this in the description right here. Does it say who made this tier list? It does not say... So I'm on tier list maker right now, but it is not showing me who made this tier. Oh, here it is. Sorry about that. Yeah. On their Twitter account, they go by @Leot_buddy, LEOT_buddy, and they're on Twitter. So yeah, shout out to them for creating this updated tier list here. Again, I'll link that in the description for those who want to check it out themselves. It has pretty much every suit that you can imagine here, including a bunch of suits that we are not going to be ranking today. And let's get into that criteria right now. So we are going to rank every power suit within reason. Within reason. That's the important factor here. And so I'm going to show you all every single power suit that's on this tier list, and I'm going to show you, well, I'm going to tell you which ones I'm not ranking. So first off, and these are all in release order, I should say as well. So first off, we're starting with Nestroid. Now for Nestroid, I'm only going to be ranking the sprites. Now there's a bunch of other versions of the power suit that's on here from Nestroid, and I'm not going to be ranking all of the individual art styles that were used throughout the various official promotional art for the game, because there's a bunch of different styles. If I were to do that, we would be here forever. It would take too long. So we're just going to stick with the Metroid sprites. And then for the rest of the 2D games up to Zero Mission, I'm primarily going to be ranking the sprites, but I'll also reference the concept art as well where applicable, because Super Metroid, for example, really only has Variasuit concept art. There is the Nintendo Power comic, but again, I'm going to be ignoring that Nintendo Power comic, which also is not in this tier list, funny enough. At least the Gravity Suit version of that. But yeah, I'll primarily be ranking the sprites from the 2D games up to 2004, and then once we get to Mercury Steam, the in-game models and the concept art, have a lot of parity from that point moving forward. That's not all that I'm going to omit from this list, though. So next up, they also added the original 3D render of Samus for Metroid Prime before the finalized one. So this is back when Metroid Prime was still a third-person game, not a first-person game. That's on this tier list. I'm going to be omitting that as well because that is no longer an official design. Likewise, the beta Phazon suit, which you can find pictures of as well in the Metroid Prime 1 through 3 visual retrospective. That I'm also going to be omitting from this tier list because it is not official either. Also, this list includes the multiplayer colors of Samus from Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime Hunters. Those I am not going to be ranking either. The gravity feature from Other M I'm not going to rank because in this game it is technically not its own suit. It is an effect that is applied to the Variasuit. AM2R's Variasuit is on here as well, but that is not official, so I am not going to be ranking that as well. Metroid Prime 3 is interesting because there's the PED suit, and there's technically 4 different versions of that PED suit. I have chose to only rank the base PED and the final fully corrupted version of the PED. That's the one that I was debating on the most, but there's a lot of variance between the first and the final one, but the ones in the middle, while there are some changes there, they're not quite as substantial, so I just decided to omit them again for the sake of time, because if I were to rank every single suit here, then I would be here for ages theoretically, and again, I got work in the morning tomorrow, so I want to get this done. And then I have a couple last up here. So Metroid Prime Remastered, again, I'm not going to rank that on its own. I'm going to factor that in with the Metroid Prime suits. And finally, the Viola IC suit, which is the upgrade that you get that allows you to cross magma in the flare pool area. There are technically some subtle changes with that suit, some additional purple lights that are added to the suit, but again, they're not substantial enough for me to want to rank it as its own unique individual suit. So I'm just going to be ranking both the Viola and the IC as a single suit. With that out of the way, let's get right into this. So, starting off with Metroid NES. Oh my gosh, we're already 13 minutes into this thing. Metroid NES. Yeah, this is where it all started, and I'm gonna give both of these a C tier for now. I can always change these as I go along, but for now, I'm gonna stick with C tier for both the power and various suits for Nestroid. Definitely iconic in their own right, but also dated at the same time. I love them for what they are. I like the nostalgic charm, but if I'm being objective, they're definitely, they're definitely like early NES type models. As we'll see here with Metroid 2, which right off the bat is going to be a huge upgrade here. So I'm just going to skip right over to Metroid 2. We get the power suit from Metroid 2, and I mean, the sprite work on this thing is wonderful. I'm going to give this a B Excuse me, I gotta sneeze real quick. Ooh, sorry about that. Yeah, right off the bat, the sprite work on this is really clean. This is also the part where the promotional art starts to get a bit more consistent across the board. Because before on Metroid NES, you had all sorts of different art styles, ranging from kind of like cassette futurism, sci-fi, all the way to like wacky, cartoony, hand drawn styles, depending on the region it was in. This is the first. This is where Metroid really starts to solidify its tone in terms of its promotional art, and I think they've found a really good medium to balance it on. But the Varia suit here, ooh, I love the Metroid 2 Varia suit, especially the sprite, the colored sprite in particular. This thing would look ugly in like a modern game, but like in the context of like sprite work, I love the red and yellow design. I love the McDonald's looking design of this suit right here. You know what? I'm gonna put it in S tier. I'm gonna put it. I love this. I love the sprite right here, particularly the colored sprite. The black and white sprite is really good as well, and important as we've discussed on the podcast before, because going back to the Nestroid sprites, those are both just palette swaps. Whereas Metroid 2's, while yes they are more detailed, at the same time the game was in black and white, and so there needed to be a physical design change to show the upgrade in real time of the power suit to the Varia suit. Hence the iconic basketball shoulder pads that were added, and haven't left that traditional Varia suit since. And again, man, I just absolutely love the look of it on this sprite here, and the concept art, not the concept art, the promotional art as well. For this Varia suit is killer. Again, that Metroid 2 Game Boy cover is still to this day such a killer cover, with Samus in kind of her crouched gunslinger stance with the smoke coming out of her arm cannon as she's on the surface of SR388. So yeah, both the sprite and the sprite alone, again, I think is putting this in S tier, but the concept art as well definitely helps that as well. Big fan. Next up, we're going over to Super Metroid, and I don't believe Super Metroid has any official promotional art for the gravity and power suits. Again, I know in the comic there is the gravity suit there, although I can't even remember if the power suit is in the comic. It might just be the gravity suits. But I digress. We're only going to be factoring the promotional art in, and as far as I'm aware, I think that only covers the Varia suit. Going to Super Metroid's power suit, I'm also going to put this in B tier. I'm actually going to put this below the Metroid 2 power suit, though. I think it's good, but I definitely think the Varia and gravity suits in Super Metroid, as we'll get into very shortly, I think leave a much, I don't know, have a much better presence on the screen on the Super Nintendo than the power suit does. Again, not that it's bad. I'm still putting it in B tier, but yeah, I don't know. There's something I also like kind of Samus's default stance in Metroid 2 as well. And granted, you could say the same thing about the Varia and the gravity suits as well, because the stances are pretty identical, but the skinniness of the power suit, I think, makes it look a little bit more awkward, especially in the leg region, right here when Samus is just standing still facing the camera like that. So, yeah, I'm gonna put that in B tier. But Super Metroid Varia suit, that is going. Ooh, do I put that in A tier or S tier? I'm going to put that in S tier. So I like the sprite work in Metroid 2 a little bit more, but I think the concept art, I keep saying concept, the promotional art for Super Metroid is even stronger than the Metroid 2 promotional art, which I already thought was pretty good. But yeah, the Super Metroid promotional art is just absolutely killer. I especially love The shot of Samus using the screw attack and Samus using the grapple beam. Those are a couple of my favorite pieces of art from Super Metroid's marketing campaign. And so I think factoring in that promotional art, I'm gonna put these two side by side. I'm gonna keep Metroid 2 in front, but in my mind they're like kind of tied for first place right now. And then likewise, I think I'm gonna put Super Metroid's gravity suit in A tier. Now, this technically is, I'm not gonna use this to factor this in because this is much later, but I will say that unlockable piece of art in Metroid Dread that shows Samus standing in front of Mother Brain with that kind of new reinterpretation of the Super Metroid gravity suit, that thing looks absolutely killer. Again, not factoring that in because that is kind of like a brand, while it is heavily based off that Super Metroid suit, it's kind of a new interpretation of that, so I'm not factoring that into it, but I just wanted to give a shout out to that piece of art because that is killer. All right, next up, we have the Fusion suit. Metroid Fusion, baby! Okay. I am putting this... I think OG Fusion suit has to go into S tier. Fusion suit looks killer. Love the arm spikes. I love the new take on the arm cannon as well, because the Metroid 2 and Super Metroid arm cannons are pretty similar, and that design has pretty much stayed the same on most of the designs moving forward, or at least the kind of the base silhouette features of that arm cannon has stayed consistent through most of the Metroid games following Metroid 2. Fusion is kind of the first game to take a brand new approach to that arm cannon, and I absolutely love the way that it pairs with this suit. Of course, you got the mixture of organic components with the metallic components from Samus's previous power suit. It looks cool there. You have a new take on the visor too, the kind of the bullhorn visor, which would come back again in Metroid Dread. And it's really interesting here because in the promotional art, Samus's visor is blue, kind of similar actually to Metroid 2 and Super Metroid, where in the promotional art the visor is blue, but in the sprite work the visors are green. I definitely prefer the green visors on the traditional suits, but on the Fusion suits I actually much prefer these blue visors on the suits. I think it pairs well with the primary color on this one being kind of this sky blue as well. So big fan of that. Oh, what do I do with this next one here? So we're ranking the clown suit next. Now, do I rank this suit where it deserves to go, or do I do the meme ranking and put this above everything else? It's such a hard choice. I'm gonna rank this the way it's supposed to. I'm gonna make the boring choice. I'm gonna rank it the way it's supposed to go, which is an S tier, of course. No, I'm kidding. Let's see, clown suit. I don't hate the clown suit as much as others do. Like, I'm not going to pretend it's an amazing suit, because it's definitely not. It's definitely a lower tier suit, but I honestly don't hate the way it looks. But yeah, I think we got to put it in D tier. I think we got to put it in D tier, unfortunately. I'm charmed by it. I like it specifically in the context of Metroid Fusion, and I would never change it, but yeah, we got to be real here. This is definitely a D. A lot of people probably are gonna say this is an F tier suit, which I definitely do not agree on. But we're gonna put this in D tier for now. Next up, we have the Fusion Gravity suit, and I don't know. Here's the thing. This is an example where I love the sprite work on the Fusion Gravity suit, but like, in the promotional art, I don't know. There's just something about it that doesn't do it for me. Yeah, I feel like it just pops a lot more in that sprite work, and I think for that, I'm gonna put this one in B tier. I think if the promotional art popped just as much, and I would say by that same standard, I would say I would also put the close-ups of Samus in the elevator while she's wearing the fusion gravity suit as well, kind of in that promotional art area, where, yeah, the actually fully drawn piece doesn't quite do it for me, but yeah, that sprite work just pops a lot. And if it was just the sprite work that I was ranking, I'd put this a lot higher. But yeah, that promotional art as well as the in-game cutscenes of Samus with that suit are actually gonna drag it a little bit for me. So I'm gonna put this in B tier. I will put this in front of the. No, actually, yeah, I'm gonna put this behind the Super Metroid Power Suit. That's gonna go at the bottom of B tier, I think. And then kind of the inverse here for the Omega Suit, where the sprite work just kind of blends in a lot with some of the other various suit sprites, but actually, again, I really like the promotional artwork and the in-game cutscene look of the way the Omega suit looks. I'm gonna put this above the power suit, above the Super Metroid Power Suit, but behind the Metroid 2 Power Suit for now. I like that position. That feels right for me. All right, we are out of Fusion territory. We're moving on to Metroid Prime 1. And starting off with another power suit here. And actually, I like this this Prime 1 power suit. I especially like some of the subtle additions that the remaster got with kind of the new the new kind of I don't know what you would call it, the pearlescence red, the very subtle pearlescence red thigh armor that they added to the Prime 1. They also kind of added that pearlescence tint to the shoulder pads on the power suit, and I think that really enhances it, as well as some of the other additional lines and details that you get from just redoing the suit in HD like that. So I like this. I think this is another B tier suit, and I'm gonna put this in between the Super Metroid Power Suit and the Omega Suit from Fusion. This is one where I feel like the Omega Suit and the Prime 1 Power Suit could actually duke it out, I think. But for now, I'm gonna give the advantage to the Omega Suit. And then, of course, next we got the Prime 1 Various Suit. That's going all the way to S tier. I freaking adore this suit. Again, especially the Metroid Prime Remastered version of this. This suit, like, it's got... I love the Metroid suits when they have a little bit of the neon lights, but I typically don't like them when, and I've used this phrase on the podcast, where they turn Samus into a gaming PC, where she's just all decked out in lights. I kind of prefer, like, kind of a middle of the road approach. I think that Prime 1 Various Suit, like, for my taste, strikes that perfect balance of, you know, adding just enough LEDs without going too crazy and overboard with it. I like it's not subtle, but it's also not in your face either. And I think it strikes a nice balance. I love kind of the impending hulking stature that Samus has in this power suit with the blown up shoulder pads. I know that's technically not proportional, but when I'm looking at Samus in the game, I kind of just don't care. And I love the silhouette that it creates. I think it's a phenomenal silhouette, again, especially even in that default standing pose where she's just looking at the camera there. I am putting this at the very top of S tier. Next up, we got the Prime 1 Gravity Suit, which is still very good, but I'm definitely going to put it a bit lower than the Prime 1 Various Suit. I think the remastered Gravity Suit is quite a bit stronger in some very subtle areas. That being said, I'm still going to put this guy... I'm going to put this in B tier. Again, I think this is going to be between the Prime 1 Power Suit and the Omega Suit. that Omega Suit is still fighting strong for its B tier placement. So I think that's where the Gravity Suit is going to wind up. And you know, the Metroid Prime 1 Various Suit, it short-lived. It enjoyed being number one, but Following that up, it's the Phazon suit, and that is obviously going to the top of S tier. It's not even close. I am, I'm a big fan of the edgy early 2000s black and red aesthetic. You see, I'm talking Shadow the Hedgehog, I'm talking Slipknot, I'm talking the Phazon suit. This is just everything to me. Like, inject it all into my veins right now. The jet black with the subtle red and gray highlights is just like perfect color combination for me. All attached to, again, that Prime 1 various suit silhouette that I absolutely adore, and it's no contest. And again, looking at it in Prime Remastered, it's just a thing of beauty. Seeing that Phazon suit fully redrawn in HD, just an absolute work of art. And I'm gonna be real, it's gonna be pretty difficult for any of these suits to dethrone the Phazon suit from number 1 position. This is straight up my favorite Metroid suit of all time. So yeah, I would say it's a fight for second place at this point from the rest of our cast members here. And unfortunately, our next cast members really don't stand much of a chance, because we have the Metroid Prime 1 unlockable fusion suit designs, and as neat of a bonus as they are, and they are neat, I also think they're ugly as sin. These are going in F tier. I hate the looks of all of these suits right here. And so these are all 4 of these are collectively going in to F tier. These are very literal translations of the Metroid Fusion suit, which again makes sense. Prime 1 infamously was on a bit of a time crunch, so they the artists at Retro probably did not have a ton of time to create these. The fact that we even got these at all is frankly a miracle, if you ask me. And so I'm certainly grateful for that. But yeah, these just do not work well with the with the Metroid Prime 1 kind of art direction and rigging system, in my opinion. So I don't know. I still would have liked to see these in remastered, just because, but I'm also not, not bawling my eyes out at their absence either. So yeah, these are our first F tier suits. Not a fan of these in the slightest. Let's change the pace though and talk about some really cool suits, because we're going to Metroid Zero Mission next. And again, we're primarily going to be looking at the sprites of these, because most of the promotional art for Zero Mission really only covers the power suit, as well as the first various suit. There is this weird gravity suit render from the legendary version of that as far as I can tell was only released as a sticker in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I have never seen that piece of concept, or I keep saying concept, that promotional art. I haven't seen that piece of promotional artwork anywhere else other than that sticker in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. So yeah, we're primarily going to be going off the sprites here. That being said, I do love the promotional art for the Zero Mission power suit, and it's really interesting because this is really kind of the only Metroid game, not the only Metroid game that has promotional artwork for the power suit. You do also have that again for Metroid 2 and Metroid Prime, but this is kind of the only Metroid game that's really focused on kind of the power suit as that centerpiece, really since Nestroid, which makes sense. This is a remake of Nestroid, so it kind of makes sense in a way that the power suit is kind of the focal point over the various suit, and especially considering you don't really get the iconic look, the silhouette look with the shoulder pads of the various suit until kind of the end of the game. But yeah, a big fan of this power suit. This is definitely going into A tier. I'm gonna put controversial take. I'm gonna put the Zero Mission power suit over the Super Metroid gravity suit right here. I love the sprite work and the promotional art of this thing. I love the game cover where Samus has this charge shot and she's like swiping her cannon downward. I've always kind of imagined, kind of a melee attack in that nature where you charge up the power beam and then you smash the charged arm cannon into an enemy and it creates like this extra large explosion. Like I've always envisioned that ever since that Zero Mission box art. So yeah, I love this kind of anime / comic book inspired art style, kind of those dark black line edges that's applied to all the artwork. Looks absolutely killer in the promotional art, and the sprite work just looks absolutely phenomenal as well. Likewise, I'm also going to put the first version of the Varia suit, so the non-legendary Varia suit. I said Varia suit there, for example. Ooh, I almost became a fake fan. I'm gonna put the Varia suit palette swap of the non-legendary power suit into A tier, just over the power suit, because again, I do like them. Again, it's literally just a palette swap, exact same design. I do like the way the orange pairs with the red and the green a little bit more than the full yellow does. At least in the sprite work, the chest piece is also a little bit darker as well, whereas the chest piece for the power suit is a lot more bright. So those are both going in A tier, and then so I want to put the legendary Varia suit into S tier. You really only get that for a second. You unlock the Varia suit, and then immediately after you switch to the gravity suit. You really don't get to spend a lot of time in this. And I think for that, I'm gonna keep this in A tier, just because it's in there as a technicality more than anything. You don't get to play around this thing at all. So I think for that, I'm gonna keep this in A tier. Likewise, so this is really interesting. So the gravity suit in Zero Mission, it's a bit more pink than purple. It actually kind of reminds me of the pink palette swap that Samus has in Super Smash Brothers. It kind of looks like that hue almost, even though that palette swap came before this interpretation of the gravity suit. So I almost wonder if the artists were inspired by that palette swap in Super Smash Bros., or more than likely it was probably just a coincidence. And it's really interesting because the unlockable ending art that you get for those applicable endings does have that more traditional kind of purple hue to it. It's really only the sprite work that has the kind of pink tint to it. And I definitely prefer the look of the artwork to the sprite. I'm not as big of a fan as the pink sprite as I am with the actual ending art. I think the ending art is S tier, whereas the pink the pink kind of is lower B tier. So I think that balances it all out into A tier, I think, to put this in. And I think I'm going to put this behind the Super Metroid gravity suit. I'm going to keep this. So yeah, it's going into the bottom of A tier behind the Super Metroid gravity suit. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. So we'll keep it there. All right, we are at 40 minutes already. Okay, my goodness. I was worried that I wasn't going to have enough time to cover this. I think we're going to be doing just fine today. Next up, we have the Metroid Prime 2 Varia suit. Now, I actually forgot to cover this in what we were not going to go over in the list, but if you want to get really technical with it, Prime 3, for example, it uses the same Varia suit as Prime 2, but the colors are slightly more muted, and it uses a different texture material. I'm not going to rank the Prime 3 Varia suit separately. I'm going to rank this Varia suit design as its own, because That's also reused in Hunters and Prime 3. I will be doing the Prime 4 variant suits separately, though, because there are some pretty notable changes with that, but we will get there when we get there. The Prime 2 variant suit, again, this is another S tier, and this is really tough for me because there's aspects of the Prime 1 variant suit I like better, and there's also aspects of the Prime 2 variant suit that I like better. And so again, this is another instance where these are both kind of tied for me as like my definitive variant suits. There's I do like, going back to kind of my preference on Samus's lighting, I do prefer Prime 1's approach to the lighting, where it's a little bit more subdued. Prime 2's is still good. It's definitely not as oversaturated as some of the other lights on suits in the future, but I definitely prefer Prime 1's more minimal approach to what Prime 2 does. The visor, I'm also split on the visors. I love both of the visor designs for different reasons. The Prime 2 design is very aggressive with that kind of angular, not quite the bullhorn design that we get in Fusion and especially in Dread, but it does still have that very aggressive look to it, which is cool. But Prime 1's design as well, there's also this air of mystery behind that helmet design with the way it's perched. It almost looks kind of, it reminds me kind of like, it's a very different design, but kind of reminds me of it's a very stoic type of helmet. I was going to compare it to the Mandalorian, even though, again, very different helmet design, but it portrays like that same kind of stoic, mysterious nature that I think is really cool, especially for like the very first 3D Metroid game. And so, yeah, I don't really have a preference of one or the other. I think both visors are the correct choices in their respective games. I think it's all a matter of, how you approach Samus in either of those games. And so the visor designs are tied for me there. The arm cannon and the chest. So Prime, I love the chest redesign of Prime 2. It's very subtle, but basically you have the lights kind of at a 45 in the Prime 1 chest lights, they're at a 45-degree angle down. Prime 2, they're at a 45-degree angle up. I think the up angle is just it's just a lot better looking, but the big improvement here, and I started talking about it a little bit early, is that arm cannon redesign. This is my favorite arm cannon in the entire Metroid series. I love the Prime 2 arm cannon so much. And here's the thing, it's almost completely identical to the Metroid Prime 1 arm cannon, but the underbarrel on this thing looks so gnarly. It's so cool. And I was really we'll talk about it in Prime 4 later, but I was pretty bummed that the underbarrel didn't return, or was pretty nerfed in the Prime 4 redesign. But yeah, that underbarrel just has so much detail, so many different like grooves and parts and little divots. I just think it's such a killer looking arm cannon. It takes that base Prime 1 arm cannon and just takes it to a whole new level. Absolutely love that Prime 2 arm cannon. I think for now, all in all, I'm going to put this above the Prime 1 Various suit because of that arm cannon. But again, these two are like neck and neck. These are two examples of suits that, like, depending on the day you ask me, my opinion on this could be very different. But yeah, I'm going to put Prime 2 over Prime 1 for now. But yeah, they are both phenomenal suits. And up next, we have the Dark suit. And some people love the Dark suit. Some people hate the Dark suit. I am on team love the Dark suit. And I'm actually sad that First 4 Figures hasn't done a statue of this yet. They did one for the Light suit, and then they did the Prime 2 Various suit next, but they never got around to doing the 1/4 scale Dark suit. And I want them to complete that line. I want the whole trio there. But yeah, I love the look of the Dark suit. I'm gonna put this in S tier again. Yeah, I love the Dark suit. It's one of the most unique looking Metroid suits. A lot of people have kind of compared it to like steampunk art, and I can definitely see where it's coming from, especially with the shoulder pads, where instead of getting like the typical basketball shoulder pads or the more flat shoulders that you'd get with the power suit, you get these almost like turbine looking shoulder pads that like have this very angular cutoff to them. And yeah, I just think they look really, I think they look really cool. And then the colors, you'd think like a drab brown and gray power suit would look boring, but I really like the way that the colors complement each other, and especially with the orange visor. Like, I think that's like a really unexpected but cool finishing piece in there. I'm gonna put that at the bottom of S tier, just before the fusion suit. But yeah, I call myself a dark suit enjoyer. And I should also say I'm not gonna rank the gravity booster add-on as a separate accessory. That is included in this ranking. But I mentioned the light suit earlier. This really is the only suit that has, well, actually that's not true. There's one other. We'll talk about that later. But for the longest time, actually there's a couple of others. But anyways, for the longest time, this really was the only suit, in my opinion, that could compete with the Phazon suit. And if you ask me on a random day, there might be a day on occasion where I like the light suit more, but I would say 90% of the time I'm going to rank the Phazon suit above it, and today is also going to be one of those days where the Phazon suit is going to reign supreme. That being said, this is an easy number 2. The light suit is so cool in Metroid Prime 2. I know some people complain because they love the way that it looks in the cutscene when the lights have that more golden aura to them as opposed to the white. I like both versions of it. I like the golden light suit when you're in the process of grabbing it, and I like the final kind of flat white design at all. I think they both look absolutely killer. And then sleek Metroid suits are kind of hit or miss for me. This is one where they absolutely hit. I also love the goofy knee pads that could take someone's eye out. Huge fan of that. I guess that's why they never added the light suit to Smash. That aerial knee attack would be extremely OP. But yeah, it also, again, it carries over the Prime 2 arm cannon that I absolutely adore as well. Such a really unique suit that really takes advantage of kind of the Luminoth architecture as well. You have these four lights on the chest piece area as well. The visor, it still retains that bullhorn, but it has a bit more curvature as well, so it looks a little bit less aggressive than the Prime 2 Advisor, but still deadly and tactile. I like the black palms kind of contrasting as well with like the white glove side as well, which is really cool. Yeah, light suit, again, one of the best Metroid suits in the entire series. It's a fan favorite for a gosh darn good reason. Now it's time to go to Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, and we are starting this off with the initial PED suit. And this is an interesting one because when the suit was first revealed, I didn't like the look of it all, but it's actually really grown on me throughout the years, and I've turned into quite a big fan. And again, we're not talking about the corrupted PED suit. We're talking about the base suit when you first wake up after getting corrupted. I really like the kind of welded together nature of this suit, where you have a lot of Galactic Federation and Chozo architectural designs clashing together and kind of again just kind of welded together haphazardly. I really like even more so than the fusion suit, this really does look like a suit that was surgically taken apart and like kind of put back together in an emergency situation. I really like the look of this thing. I think this is going to be an A tier suit for me. Now the question is, how high on the A tier does this go for me? And I think, I think, ooh, I'm gonna put it over both of the gravity suits here, both of the Super Metroid and the Zero Mission gravity suits. Oh, do I want to put this over the Zero Mission power suit though? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna leave it right there between the Super Metroid gravity suit and the Zero Mission power suit. I'm gonna leave it there before I change my mind. We're going over next to the fully corrupted PED suit. And yeah, this is another S tier suit. Shocker. Yeah, this thing, again, looks absolutely killer. And, you know, I know it's funny. I know I just said that I prefer the lighting on Samus's suits to be a bit more subdued. This is the opposite of that, and there's actually one more suit that's going to be the opposite of that later, which I'll have to find a way to defend that. I think here it works for me because of the context. When it comes to Samus's power suits, obviously we're talking about science fiction, borderline fantasy. It doesn't have to be super realistic. I mean, we're talking about someone in a bright orange suit to begin with, even minus the lights. It's not exactly something that's low profile. That being said, I do still like, you know, the lighting systems to be somewhat, take into consideration, whether or not it's a tactical disadvantage or not. Again, it's something that I'm probably overthinking, but that's just kind of how I like the design nature of it. This, however, this is not an intentional design feature that just happens to make Samus stand out. This is Samus's PED suit literally being corrupted in real time. This is not a decision that that the suit designer made. This is just a result of the suit being corrupted. It is out of anyone's control. And I know that's a really weird, mental explanation for why I love it so much, but that really is why I love this fully corrupted suit. If Andy is listening to this right now, I can already tell he's rolling his eyes so hard listening to me talk about my decision making process here. But and listen, I'm just keeping it real. That's how I think about this kind of stuff. But anyways, yeah, absolutely love. Again, it almost looks like, all of the line pieces on the suit are highlighted. It almost seems like the phase-on is seeping out of the crevices of the suit as well. And again, it just really highlights just how near the edge. And you have different shades of blue and purple as well that still highlight the phase-on, but it's not a single shade of blue. And I think that really benefits the suit as well. It's very busy. You could argue it's over designed, but again, I really like this one. I'm gonna put this one pretty high. I am going to put this above. I'm gonna put this above the Metroid 2 Various suit, behind the Metroid Prime 1 Various suit. That's how much I love the PED suit. This thing is absolutely magical. Before we continue on, let's do a quick recap of where we're at right now. Because again, we're not doing video footage. You can't see the tier list in front of me. So yeah, let's just do a quick recap of where we're at. So in last place, tied for last place, we have the Metroid Prime 1 takes of the fusion suits, all 4 of them. And then above that, we have the fusion Various suit. Then next we I have them tied here. I'm gonna actually switch these around because I want the Nestroid Various suit in front. So after the fusion Various suit, we have Nestroid Power suit. In front of that, we have Nestroid Various suit. Then we have Fusion Gravity suit, followed by Super Metroid Power suit, followed by Prime 1 Power suit, followed by Prime 1 Gravity suit, followed by the Omega suit from Fusion, followed by the Metroid 2 Power suit. Going into A tier, we have the Zero Mission Gravity suit, followed by the Super Metroid Gravity suit, followed by the initial PED suit from Prime 3, then the power suit from Zero Mission, the initial Varia suit from Zero Mission, and lastly, the legendary Varia suit from Zero Mission. And then on S tier, we have the Dark suit from Prime 2, followed by the Fusion suit from Fusion, followed by the Varia suit from Super Metroid, then the Varia suit from Metroid 2, followed by the fully corrupted PED suit from Prime 3, followed by the Prime 1 Varia suit, followed by the Prime 2 Varia suit, followed by the Light suit, and rounding us off at first place with the Phazon suit. So again, that's just kind of a recap of where we're at right now. And next up, we got Metroid Other M, and boy howdy, these are both going into into last place right here. I hate the looks of these suits. These are going below the Prime 1 Fusion suits. I remember, so I was very excited when Other M was first announced. Again, it really wasn't until my second playthrough of Other M where kind of the awfulness of that game really caught up to me, where I started to like realize what I was playing. But yeah, before that, I was really excited about this game up until then. But even when the game was first announced, I have never been a fan of this power suit design, and especially the arm cannon design. You know, if Prime 2 is my favorite arm cannon design, this is hands down the worst arm cannon in any Metroid ever made, ever. Even Federation Force. God, I hate the look of the Other M arm cannon. It looks like a Nerf gun. It doesn't look like a weapon at all. I absolutely do not know what anyone was thinking when they were designing this thing. I think it looks absolutely ugly. Now, I will say, and I've heard a lot of people say this, the Super Smash Bros. Versions of the Other M suits does look better. And that is true. The Smash Bros. Versions do look better. It uses better materials. It adds some very subtle kind of mesh texturing under some of the panel lining, which I think looks better. But it still retains that kind of that base silhouette, which I already don't like with the Other M suit. And of course, it retains the same arm cannon, which I just think looks butt ugly. So yeah, power suit and Varia suit are both going in last place. I will put the power suit in last place again, just because I think the full yellow coloration works even less than the Varia suit colors, which at least retains that kind of traditional Varia suit look. But yeah, that shade of yellow they used on the power suit, I just do not think looks good at all whatsoever. So yeah, I'm gonna put both of those in last place, emphasizing the power suit. I don't know, should I rank the Federation Force Varia suit? I'm not gonna rank the Federation Force Varia suit. I'm gonna make a call right now. I was debating on whether or not I wanted to do that earlier, because like, yeah, in game obviously it has the chibi art style, but like, if it wasn't chibi, it would basically be the exact same Varia suit that we had in Prime 2, Prime 3. If I was ranking it, obviously this would be F tier. I'll be honest, I would still at least put it above the Other M suits. It would the Prime 1 Fusion suits would go over it, but but I would still rank the Other M suits last. Yeah, I guess, you know what, I'll just put it in there since I already know where I'm going to put it anyways. I may as well add it anyways. So yeah, we'll put the Federation Force suit between the Other M Varia suit and the collection of Prime 1 Fusion suits. I really don't need to talk about any much more. It's pretty self-explanatory from there on. Let's move on to a much better game. We're doing Metroid Samus Returns, and we are already almost at the hour mark. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a full-length episode we got going here. I'm going to drop some spicy takes for you all right about now. So first off, all of this, before I say anything, I want to say all of the suits in Samus Returns are fantastic. Again, talking about how much I absolutely loathe that other M suit, seeing the Samus Returns various suit for the first time when that game was announced, like that is one of the biggest glow ups that Samus might have ever had. Like going from the other M suit to the Samus Returns suit was insane. But let's talk about the power suit first, because that is the first suit that you start the game off of. And while there isn't any promotional art of the suit, there is some concept art that's available in the art book for this game, which you can only you can see pictures of it online, but if you want the art book physically, you can only get that with the Legacy Edition of Metroid Samus Returns, which is exclusive to Europe. North America or Japan did not get that. They got the regular special edition, which only included the Samus Archives soundtrack CD. I love the concept of the Samus Returns power suit. I think in game it looks fine for what it is. It's passable, but the concept art I think might be my favorite take on the power suit in all of the Metroid series. I love the way the power suit looks in that concept art. And it's not radically different. You can look it up right now. It's not radically different from like that in-game model. It's just, it's a lot more detailed than it appears in-game. And I think those extra details. Oh, this is with a spicy take. I'm gonna put the Samus Returns power suit in S tier, man. I love the look of the of the Samus Returns power suit. And again, maybe that's not fair, because again, we're talking about concept art here, not any promotional art, and the in-game look I don't think is as strong, but man, that I don't know. This is my ranking, and I'm choosing to put it in S tier. That concept art just left a very large impact on me. I think it looks killer. It has a lot of the same features that I love in the Various Suit redesign as well. But I think a lot of them work even better on the power suit, if I'm being honest, especially those new ventilation attachments that are added to the shoulders. I don't know. There's something. I think they also look good on the Various Suit, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you what it is. But there's something about the way they're added to those power suit shoulders that just, I look at it and I go, yep, that's it. That's the sauce right there. So yeah, I'm gonna put, and you know what? I'm gonna make this even spicier. I'm not even gonna put this at the bottom of S tier. I'm gonna put this in front of the dark suit. I'm not going to put it in front of the fusion suit, though. If I put it in front of the fusion suit, I think I would actually get hung for that. I think I would actually have an angry mob with pitchforks and torches outside my house if I dared put that over the fusion suit. I'm not going to do that. I will say, I think the concept art of the power suit is stronger than the promotional art of the Various suit. But, again, if we're looking at the sprite work, fusion suit absolutely clears. Did I say Various suit? I think I actually said Various suit. The fusion suit clears the power suit in terms of the sprite work, hands down. Can you tell that I'm recording this late at night? So yeah, I'm gonna put this over the dark suit, but not quite strong enough to go over the fusion suit. Next up, we have the Samus Returns Various suit, and yeah, this is a really strong Various suit. But again, spicy take, I don't think it's the strongest Various suit. I don't think it's the strongest. And again, which again, that's fine. It doesn't have to be the strongest. It's a great looking Various suit. And again, especially coming after Other M, it was to say that I was relieved would be an understatement, seeing how much Mercury Steam knocked the design of this thing out of the park. Yeah, I think this is a really good Various suit design. I don't think it's an S tier design, though. It's an A tier design, though. It's, again, very, very good design. But not quite S tier. And again, kind of going, and I think a lot of it, I think the bulk of it, pun not intended, has to be with the lighting. And again, I know a lot of people it's funny. We'll get into the next suit, which is about to contradict everything I'm about to say here, but the thick lighting here on the Various suit, I don't think pairs as well as the way the lighting was approached on the Prime 1 and even the Prime 2 suits as well. The extra I think if the lighting was just a little bit thinner and again just a little bit more subdued, I think that would make the suit stand out much stronger. At least in the artwork. I think in the game it's totally fine because of the low resolution, and it makes sense because of how far the camera is panned out. So again, the lights aren't super overblown even with the bloom lighting. But yeah, that's just I don't prefer the thick lighting. I also don't like the it kind of reminds me of the Dead Space health bar, but there's like this light on the spinal cord of the piece, which I don't know. I don't really think it works the best on this suit for me personally. Which again, still an incredibly strong suit. I do think the arm cannon design is killer. And again, if this were a 3D game with the way it lights up, I probably would be a little bit more down on it. But in the context of a 2D game where the camera is drawn out and you can easily look at it at a glance to kind of see what your beam you have selected on, I think that's just a really cool touch in general. I also really like that hologram projector that's built into the side of this arm cannon that Samus uses to access kind of the Metroid info in the cutscenes. You don't see that in any other arm cannon design in any Metroid game ever. I kind of wish that would come back. I think that's like a really cool feature. I like the idea that Samus has like this holo computer built into her arm cannon that she can access. That feels like something that she would have with her at all times, and I like that that's something they did with this game. I hope that's something Mercury's team brings back and maybe even brings into the gameplay, not just the cutscenes. So this is going into A tier. And you know what? I think I'm actually going to put this at the top of A tier on so hopefully the pitchforks and torches will go down. They're probably not going to go down, but yeah, I think this is the top of A tier, but not quite gonna put this in the S tier. Anyways, to contradict everything I just said about lightings, let's talk about the gravity suit in Samus Returns. And like, listen, I got nothing. I am aware that what I'm about to say is going to contradict everything I said about the various suit, and I cannot tell you why the overblown lighting on the Samus Returns gravity suit works so well for me. It just does. It's going not at the top of S tier, not even in second place, but this is a very strong third place for S tier. And again, first off, I think this is the first time in Metroid history that we have gotten a gravity suit that is not a palette swap of the Varia suit. So right off the bat, that's in and of itself like a really cool precedent to be set. And yeah, I think this is like hands down the best gravity suit design in the whole series. And yeah, I don't know why. For whatever reason, for all the nonsense I just spewed about, tactical lighting and all that, and, this is definitely not tactical lighting, but I don't know. I love the way it looks. I love the way it like almost kind of like creates this stripe that like runs down the sides, but it doesn't like run down the side of the whole suit. It primarily occupies the top of the suit and then the thighs on the lower torso, but you don't really get a lot of lighting anywhere else. And I think that's just a really neat idea. That's not really a design you've seen in Metroid before, and I think it just I don't know. I think it looks really cool despite everything that I just said. I also really like some of the jet black highlights that are interwoven into some of the pieces. Like again, in the legs you have like these jet black pieces. You have like a jet black back piece. You have some of the joints on the left arm are black as well. I think it pairs really well with that dark purple that they chose for the suit. And it again, this is a top 3 Metroid suit. Big fan of the gravity suit. Next up, we're not out of the woods yet for Samus Returns though, because Samus Returns also has some brand new takes on the fusion suits as well that you get when scanning. Oh, I can't remember which amiibo unlocks the fusion mode. One of those amiibos unlocks fusion mode, and then yeah, you get to play in a brand new redesign of the fusion suits, and I do not like these anywhere near as much as the Metroid fusion suits. Now, they are substantially better than the Prime 1 fusion suits, so they're definitely not going into D tier. I think so. I'm gonna put the power and gravity Samus Returns fusion suits at the end of B tier, and then they redesigned the Various suit because of how infamous the clown suit looks. I'm gonna be real. I think the clown suit colors are better than the watermelon colors that they got going in the Samus Returns Various suit. So I actually am going to put that in D tier, just below the clown suit. This one just, I don't know, it doesn't work. It probably would look better in a sprite, but just as a 3D model, it doesn't look great either. And by extension, if they stuck with the clown suit colors, it'd probably also look pretty ugly in that context. So I get why they did it, but yeah, not a fan of the new watermelon suit that they did with Samus Returns. And I get, while these are brand new takes on it, I kind of wish color-wise, I wish they kind of remained faithful to the clown suit, since they did remain faithful, at least with the coloration of the fusion and the gravity suits. So that's where I'm placing those. All right, we have 2 more games to cover, and then we are out of here. Next up, we got Metroid Dread, and my opinions of these suits are kind of all over the place, and I'm sure at some point I'm gonna have some pitchforks and torches thrown my way. But before we do that, let's talk about how killer the Dread Power Suit is. This is an S tier suit through and through, and I'm actually gonna rank this pretty high. Dread Power Suit, I think I'm gonna put the Dread Power Suit over the Prime 2 Various suit and below the Samus Returns Gravity suit. That is how strong that I think the Dread Gravity suit is, which is funny because I definitely prefer red to blue, so you'd think that this wouldn't work quite as much for me, but no, I actually think the blue and the new white design that they have for kind of that inner layer that used to be yellow in the traditional Metroid Power suits, I think this white just pairs so great with this sky blue color that they've done. You've also got the muscle tendon textures that they've used to kind of represent the organic portions of the power suit that are still healing from the surgery that Samus got in Fusion. And you get this combination of like the metallic componentry that's, fully healed, combined with those organic components which are still in progress, and it just creates this absolutely killer look. Of course, you got the bullhorn style helmet, which is the most aggressive Samus helmet we've gotten yet, and absolutely pairs well with the gameplay of Dread, where you are playing the most aggressive Samus ever, frankly, with all the melee combat and the finishing moves. This is a top tier design. Same thing with the arm cannon. I think this is a very strong arm cannon for a 2D game. Would not work for me again in a 3D context, but again, for a 2D game where the camera is drawn out, I really like it here. I also like the side lights on this suit as well. Again, specifically for how they work in the game. So you don't really notice them, at least I don't notice them too much in the concept art, but they're so cool in the game because when you enter dark rooms, like it really highlights those lights, and it just looks really cool with the lighting system they have in that game. So yeah, really really cool piece there, and one of my all-time favorite Metroid suits. It's an S tier for sure. All right, let's start bringing out some of those pitchforks. The Dread Various suit. This is simultaneously an upgrade and a downgrade for me. There's some portions of this suit that I think look better, and there's some portions of this suit that I think look worse than the Dread Powers suit. Um, and unfortunately, the biggest thing that sticks out to me is the stuff I don't quite like about it as much, namely the chest lights. So we'll talk about this throughout, but like for those who've played Dread, you kind of already know how the lights on the chest works. But they, as you progress through the suits, the chest lights evolve and they start going further down Samus's torso, and by the time you get to the Metroid suit, they're like they've like fully grown throughout the suit, and it's kind of like it's this evolution that happens as you upgrade each suit. And I get what they were going for in the storytelling sense. I also I think, and again, I think it works for the Metroid suit. We'll get there when we get there, but I don't think it works for this suit, and especially the next suit that we'll talk about. I think the lightning bolt collar looks really goofy on the Various suit, and for all of the cool improvement it has over the Fusion suit, that lightning bolt collar I think takes a lot away from this. I am putting this one in B tier, and this one's going fairly probably in the middle. I am going to put this one in between the Super Metroid Power suit and the Fusion Gravity suit. Let me talk about some of the stuff I do like. When I was talking about the Samus Returns Gravity suit, I mentioned some of those, some of the jet black kind of pieces that were added to the armor. The Various suit does some of that as well, and like again the inner thigh and kind of the ankle area, and I think the jet black editions look really cool. I also like the way the shoulder piece evolves, how the front of it has the full metallic orange, whereas on the Dread Power suit it's kind of like a metallic gray. It almost looks like a giant screw that's like holding the piece together, whereas this almost looks like an almost fully formed pauldron. I think that's looks really cool. I like this kind of bomb, this miniature. It almost looks like a miniature bomb vest explosive collar that that Samus has. I think that actually looks like a really cool armor piece. Unfortunately, it's surrounded by the lightning bolts there, which I don't like as much, but I do think that additional collar piece is really cool. But yeah, unfortunately, the lightning bolts just take a lot away from it. I do also like how the tendons change to kind of, even though the inner armor of the suit is that new white color, the tendons change to that kind of traditional yellow color, and so you still do get a little bit of that traditional Various suit look embedded in there, but with its own unique flavor. Not a bad suit. It's still in B tier, so I still like it, but it could be so much better if it just didn't have those damn lightning bolts. Not a fan of those. And unfortunately, it only gets worse from here, because next we got the Gravity suit, and if I thought those lightning bolts looked goofy on the Various suit, I think they look disgusting on the Gravity suit, and not in a good way. And again, there's aspects of this new Gravity suit that I like, that I think is an improvement even over the Various suit. I like kind of the bladed tops of the pauldrons. I like the way they've evolved in this Gravity suit. I like how the lighting on the leg joints. I like how there's this new this black piece that kind of like sticks out a little bit more, that kind of like emphasizes the light almost like by like putting a shadow over it. Weirdly enough, some of the jet black componentry is reduced. So you still have a little bit of black on the inner thigh, but it's nowhere near as pronounced on the Various suit, and the ones on the ankles are just missing completely on the Gravity suit. I wish they kept it, because I like that addition. So it's interesting that they took that away. But of course, the biggest change, and the thing that just absolutely kills this dying for me, is this goofy lightning bolt evolution that almost looks like Samus is wearing overalls now. These lightning overalls over the Gravity suit, and I think this just looks so ugly. This is going Bring out the pitchforks. This is going below the clown suit in Fusion. This is going below the clown suit in Fusion. I'm going to put it below the watermelon suit as well from Samus Returns. I hate the look of this thing. I'm still not going to put it in F tier because, again, there's a bunch of other design elements of it that really work. It's really just that damn lightning bolt overall vest that's just killing the design for me. You remove that, you remove those lightning bolts, and that alone puts this in A tier. You make those lights blue, and that probably puts it in S tier. Just a simple design change just would shoot that suit up. So it's a bummer, but yeah, that's where I'm ranking it. Let's see where. And then we got one more suit left. We got the Metroid suit for Metroid Dread. One more suit for Metroid Dread. Yeah, we still got to go through Metroid Prime 4. Now, the Metroid suit... So when Metroid Dread first came out, for those of you who don't remember, I was actually not quite as hot on this suit as a lot of other people were. And I think it's I think in the artwork, this suit pops up. This suit pops a lot more than it does in game, in my opinion. The ending that that one ending you get in Metroid Dread that shows Samus attacking Ravenbeak, that hand-drawn piece of art where Samus is attacking Ravenbeak, that looks absolutely killer. And don't get me wrong, it still looks good in game too, but I just think it's even stronger in the artwork than it is in gaming. The in-game art, it almost looks like it's made out of clay, almost, not like the organic components that I think it's trying to go for. And I think that definitely shines a bit more in the artwork. I really like the look of this Metroid suit, but I'm not going to quite put it in S tier, but I'm still going to rank it very high. I'm going to put it in A tier, and I think I'm going to put this not at the bottom of A tier, just above the Zero Mission Gravity suit, but I'm not going to put it over the Super Metroid Gravity suit. I think we're going to leave the Metroid suit right there. And again, the Metroid suit does have like the crazy lighting, and it does have, the lightning bolts as well. I think in the context of this design, though, it actually works. And again, I get what Mercury Steam was going for in the evolution of those lightning bolts. I kind of would have preferred they just didn't do that, and you just go to the Metroid suit and it already looks like this. Yeah, there's also a lot of really cool stuff. Like you have like Metroid talons growing all over the suit. The arm cannon has like talons sticking out of the barrel. It's just it is. I can say this for sure. It is easily like the wildest looking Metroid suit that we've gotten in terms of like, the scope and the precedent it sets for like what a power suit can be. So I'll definitely give it props for that. I definitely I love it in the context, but I definitely don't want that to be like Samus's default appearance moving forward. I do prefer her in like a more traditional battle armor rather than like a fully organic battle suit that's like taken over her. Even in the context of Fusion and, even those base Dread suits, which do have that organic components, there's enough of like that traditional inner suit there that I still do like as well. Whereas the Metroid suit just has absolutely none of that. Really cool in the context of the game, really cool on its own, but not what I would want Samus's default appearance to be. All right, let's check where we're at right now. We are at 1 hour and 22 minutes. All right, and we are at our final game, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So yeah, we have 4 suits to rank from this game. Let's get to it. Starting with the redesigned Varia suit that we briefly get to use in Metroid Prime 4. And this is another one that's really interesting because again, for those of you who have been with the podcast, you know that when this trailer first premiered, I was not a fan of this Varia suit redesign. And there's one aspect which I alluded to earlier, which I still am not the biggest fan of, but a lot of the other stuff I wasn't a fan of have really grown on me. And this is actually I think my favorite Varia suit design now. Other than one thing, I'm still going to put this at the top of the various suits at S tier though. So I'm gonna put this above the Echo's various suit. And I'll kind of tell you about my process here. So initially I had to adjust to the suit because this is the first traditional various suit that is made to be proportionate for a human body. Now, I've never really cared about the proportions before. When I look at the various suit, I just think that looks cool. I'm not thinking about how you stuff a person in there. It works for me. That obviously doesn't work for a lot of people, and there have been memes about, like, showing, like, Samus's body drawn over, kind of the messed up proportions of the Prime suit, and like how that would just destroy a person. Whereas here in Prime 4, you actually can stuff a person into that suit without it clipping all over the place. And it took a bit for me to get used to it because, when I first looked at the suit, I was thinking like, oh, it looks like cosplay. And the reason I was thinking of that is because, yeah, this would be a proportionate suit that someone could actually, wear and fit into. And after adjusting to that and getting used to this new design, I've actually come to really enjoy it. I think it still has the important features of a various suit. You still have, while the basketball shoulder pads aren't as pronounced as the Echoes or the Prime 1 suits, I think they're still pronounced enough to where they're slightly slimmed down, but still bulky, and like, they still stand out without being too overbearing. And I think overall, it has a really nice balance of of slenderness and bulkiness that does have what I like about those Prime 1 suits. The lighting, very, very similar to the Prime 2 suit. Not quite identical, but like very clearly inspired by it. Like this is very clearly like an HD take on the Prime 2 suit with like some very subtle redesigns. The helmet has that bullhorn design from Echoes. The edge is a little bit more curved, whereas the Echoes helmet is flat. This one has a slight curvature that you can see depending on the angle Samus is facing in some of the cutscenes. There's a lot more aligning and panel details added, which I think look really awesome as well. It makes the suit really look like there's multiple pieces that were like screwed in and put together. And then we get to the arm cannon. This is arguably the most radical change from all of the suit designs. Just the proportions in the arm cannon are definitely the two biggest things that stick out. And overall, I like the arm cannon. I think there's a lot of improvements made, but as I alluded to earlier, unfortunately, this design ditched the really cool underbarrel piece from the Echoes design, and I wish they didn't do that. I think the Echoes design, I think the Echoes underbarrel would look really cool with this iteration of the arm cannon. So it's a bummer that they went with this new version because I don't think it looks anywhere near as cool. But at the same time, your attention isn't going to be on that underbarrel piece. It's more of like a subtle detail than something that's going to draw your eyes, really. So it's ultimately not the biggest deal in the world. I wish they didn't. They added the underbarrel piece from Echoes, but and that's ultimately why I'm putting it over the Echoes suit, is because at the end of the day, like of the things they could have changed, this is ultimately not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. The arm cannon itself is really interesting. It weirdly enough, so it has both more detail and less detail than the Prime Remastered arm cannon from 2 years prior. So the Prime Remastered arm cannon added a bunch of panel lining to the arm cannon, which is absent on the Prime 4 arm cannon. And I wish it was present because I really do like that panel lining, but the panel lining added to the Prime 1 arm cannon also didn't have any functionality. It was just kind of there for show. The lining that is present on the Beyond arm cannon all has functionality. Any bit of panel lining that's on the arm cannon is something that is is a piece that is going to be changed out whenever Samus swaps to one of the other beam shot upgrades that she gets throughout the game. And I think that's actually pretty cool once you experience the game in context. Another feature kind of going to Prime 3, which ultimately isn't that big of a deal, but I wish was present. Prime 3, with the motion controls, they added so much detail to the arm cannon since you could see it at different angles. Prime 4 technically does have motion controls, but it's not going to be the primary method that folks play and experience the game at. But one of the cool details of Prime 3 is if you fired a missile or if you were charging a beam, if you held the arm cannon up to your face, in the recoil rings when they expand, you can see a bunch of moving cylinder parts underneath, and they would also be highlighted on the color of the beam that Samus had equipped at the time, and it looked really cool. Prime Remaster didn't bring that back, and Prime 4 also does not bring that back, so that's kind of a bummer, but at the same time, chances are you're going to be playing, I mean, I'm always playing with dual analog controls when I play Metroid Prime 4. And so because of that, you're not really at an angle where you can see that anyways. But I still thought that was a really cool detail, and I wish they would have brought that back. Now, the aspect of the arm cannon that I do like is the joint. So the joint got a huge redesign, and again, it kind of fits the more this more proportionate, friendly take on the Various suit. And there's a really sleek divot in at the end of the arm cannon that actually allows Samus to bring the arm cannon up, curl it almost like she's doing like a bicep curl. She can curl that up without it clipping into her arm, and I think that's a really neat addition as well. So yeah, I just realized how I've just been talking nonstop about this Prime 4 Varisuit. But yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts. Again, a couple areas where I think the Echo suit still reigns supreme, but they're ultimately so minor that the rest of the Prime 4 suit I think still ultimately succeeds it on at S tier. Coming up next, we have the Psychic suit, which is kind of the Various suit after Samus collects the Psychic Crystal. And I am going to put this in A tier. I think it's a good looking suit, but I definitely prefer the classic green neon to the purple pink neon on the suit. Again, I think it still looks good, but not quite as good as the green neon. And I think I'm going to put this over the Zero Mission Gravity suit, but under the Metroid suit. Hang on, I gotta sneeze again. All right. Yeah, so I think I'm going to put that between the Zero Mission Gravity suit and the Metroid suit from Metroid Dread. Again, pretty much everything I just talked about the Various suit applies here. It is literally the exact same, other than the lights are purple, and Samus now has the Psychic Crystal embedded into her forehead. Otherwise, the suits are pretty much identical. So won't go into too much more detail. Next up, we have the Viola suit. And remember, we're ranking both this and the Viola IC together. I actually think the standard Viola suit is a bit of a stronger design than the IC. I think I don't know. I think the added purple lights on the joints are a little bit. It still looks good, but I think they're a little bit much. I like. I prefer the look of the initial Viola suit, and this is a suit that I think universally most people really enjoy, and I'm also in that camp as well. This is going to be going in S tier 100%. And it's funny because if you told me that, like, hey, we're gonna combine black, red, and purple together, I would think that wouldn't work. But yeah, the more I'm exposed to this suit, the more that this really does just work for me. And it's such a unique take as well, because traditional Metroid suits, you have your helmet and chest color, you have your outer color, and you have your torso color. The Viola suit really only has two colors. So you have like you have an inner color and you have an outer color. You have your inner color, which covers the insides of the legs and the chest piece, and then you have the outer color, which primarily takes up the outside of the legs, the back, the shoulders, and the helmet, where it almost feels like the outer color is like wrapping itself around the inner color, but not fully. It's a really unique take on Metroid design. I know I just said that, but again, I think it looks really interesting and awesome. I like kind of the triangular lighting on it, which I think is supposed to be a reference to like the control beam, even though you get the control beam before this, but that's kind of the vibe I get from the lighting here. You also get a new, and I forgot to talk about this with the Prime 4 Various suit as well, but I love the texture on the Prime 4 Various suit visor, and I also love the texture on the Viola suit visor as well. And I like that they actually like changed that kind of gradient pattern on it. Like that's something that, you know, a detail that you really wouldn't expect them to do, but they went out of their way to do that, and so I think it looks really cool. And yeah, it definitely gives the look of like a racing battle suit, which makes sense because this is how you drive Viola, the motorcycle in this game. So yeah, all around, very cool design. Prefer this to the IC suit, and I am ranking those together. I am still putting this at S tier. Ooh, where do I want to put this in S tier? I think... I'm going to put this... I am going to put this between... I'm going to put this between the Prime 4 Various suit and the Dread Power suit. I think that's going to be... I think that's going to be my final placement of that. And with that, folks, we have one suit remaining. We have the Legacy suit, the final suit that you collect in Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And yeah, this one kind of reminds me a lot of the Gravity suit from Metroid Dread, but for different reasons. And I also think, first off, I think it's a much stronger suit than the Gravity suit in Dread, first off. But obviously, the big thing with this is it's very derivative of the Light suit, which is kind of boring, and I don't think it looks anywhere near as good as the Light suit. And so that's pretty unfortunate there. So not a fan of that. Again, there's worse suits that you could mimic though, and I think that's what prevents this from going too low. But it is the point that it's derivative of like another suit. Where I think the suit goes worse than the Light suit is, again, those additional lights that are introduced with the Viola IC. I think those extra large lights, the kind of pearlescent, kind of eggshell colored lights that are added to the suit, I don't think are particularly strong. I think the lighting on the Light suit, pun not intended, is just a lot stronger in general. I do like the black chest piece with the gold panel lining. That looks really cool, and frankly, I think that should have been the primary theme that this suit should have gone for, rather than being derivative of the Light suit. I think it should have been like, you know, a kind of a jet black with gold highlights on the suit. I think that would have been a much stronger direction to go with, and I think you do that, and this suit goes up much higher. But in its current state, I'm going to put this in B tier, but I'm going to put it fairly high up in the B tier, though. I'm actually going to put this just behind the power suit from Metroid 2 Samus Returns. Return of Samus, excuse me. So yeah, still a good suit. Wish it wasn't derivative. And yeah, that's going to be the final suit that we're ranking today. Again, not ranking any of the other suits I mentioned, not ranking any of the Smash Brothers suits either. We've gone on long enough. Looking at the time right now, we are almost at an hour 40. So before we head out, let's do a full recap of every single suit that we ranked today. In F tier, last place, we have the Other M Power Suit, followed by the Other M Various Suit, followed by the Federation Force Various Suit, followed by all four of the Metroid Prime suits, And then in D tier, we have the the Dread Gravity Suit, followed by the Samus Returns Fusion Various Suit, followed by the Fusion Various Suit. In C tier, I really didn't put that many options in C tier. I really only put the Nestroid suits, but I'm not going to change that now. It's way too late at night for that. We're sticking with it. In C tier, we have the Nestroid Power Suit, followed by the Nestroid Various Suit. In B tier, we have the Samus Returns Fusion Gravity Suit, followed by the Samus Returns Fusion Power Suit, followed by the Fusion Gravity Suit, followed by the Dread Various Suit, followed by Super Metroid Power Suit, followed by Metroid Prime Power Suit, followed by Metroid Prime Gravity Suit, followed by the Omega Suit, followed by the Legacy Suit, and lastly, the Metroid 2 Power Suit. In A tier, we have the Zero Mission Gravity Suit, followed by the Psychic Various Suit, followed by the Metroid Suit, followed by the Super Metroid Gravity Suit, followed by the initial PED Suit, followed by the Zero Mission Power Suit, followed by the initial Zero Mission Various Suit, followed by the legendary Zero Mission Gravity Suit, followed by the Various Suit, followed by the Samus Returns Various Suit. And then finally, in S tier, we're starting off with the Dark Suit, followed by the Samus Returns Power Suit, followed by the Fusion Suit, followed by the Super Metroid Various Suit, followed by the Metroid 2 Various Suit, followed by the fully corrupted PED Suit, followed by the Metroid Prime 1 Various Suit, followed by the Metroid Prime 2 Various Suit, followed by the Metroid Prime 4 Various Suit, followed by the Viola Suit, followed by the Dread Power Suit, followed by the Samus Returns Gravity Suit, followed by the Light Suit, and again, reigning supreme, finishing off, is the Phazon Suit. Folks, it is late at night. I have to get editing on this before work tomorrow. So Andy will join us next week. Yeah, stay tuned for that. Can't wait to see my friend again. Yeah, if you enjoyed the video, or wherever you're listening to this podcast, be sure to give us a like, leave a comment. Leave a comment if you're gonna come to my house with some pitchforks and torches. I want to hear all about it. Let us know in our Discord server, where you can join up with everyone in the pitchfork and torches and all those shenanigans. And, of course, you got to check out OmegaMetroid.com, your one-stop spot for all the latest Metroid news, opinion pieces, walkthroughs, and, of course, an archive of all of our podcast episodes. And if you want to give us some of your money, too, for some extra content, don't forget to subscribe to our Patreon over on SPNet, where you can get bonus Omega Metroid content, including the Great Area Metroid ranking in our current series, Gooey Plays Metroid, where he is currently playing Super Metroid, technically for the second time, but now with a fresh set of eyes, having a few more Metroid games on his back now. And of course, you can also check out Andy's other podcasts over at the Zelda Cast, Virtual Theater, the Spiteri Show, and the Middle Earth podcast as well. Folks, that will do it for us today. I will see you all next week, and I will see you all next mission.